Here's Jay again, back in the Himalayas. You can see it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful. This is the monsoon, and it's these beautiful misty clouds coming up, swafting right through these oak trees behind me, bringing this beautiful ferns on the trees and the moss effects that you see there. I was just, my family and I, we went that direction, about 20 miles, and then we went down the mountainside. And we were going to visit some friends in a village, and as we were walking down this ridge, the path went right through the ridge, and on either side were villages. And we were passing on the right side, Muslims over here, and on the left side, Hindus on this side. And it was fascinating as I went down, the people coming towards me, I had to either say namaste to the Hindus or salam to the Muslims. And you could tell which were which just by the dress they wore, and just also by either the dots on their forehead. And so it was great to be able to see just how well they got along. And you can hear the jeeps below me as they're going out on the road we took to get out to these villages. There seemed to be a very good relationship between the Hindus and the Muslims, and certainly that is the case up here in the mountains. But that is not necessarily the case around India. And this is one of the things we want to talk about, is this difficulty that has happened, or that has really come to happen in the 20th century. In the 20th century, there has been a real strong back and forth, I'd say, warfare, really, in many respects. There's been an enormous amount of friction between Muslims and Hindus. In the 20th century, of course, is when this country got its independence in 1947. Back in 1940, the Indian Muslim League wanted to create their own homeland called Pakistan, and they asked for it in 1940. In 1947, they finally were able to get it because of the Congress Party and the British, who were giving up India, allowed them to do so under the auspices of Jinnah. And they were able to create two different homelands, West Pakistan in the west and East Pakistan in the east. Now, that is no longer called East Pakistan. In 1971, after the war there, it became Bangladesh. Pakistan and Bangladesh are those two homelands, those two Muslim homelands. And they are third and fourth largest Muslim countries in the world, respectively, or some would say second and fourth, depending on which statistics you want to look at. Now, obviously, this friction has continued, and there have been flashpoints that have happened since 1947. We know in 1947 there was an enormous amount of eviction of Hindus out of Pakistan, on both west and east, and hundreds of thousands were thrown out, and they came across on trains. We know that quite a few Muslims also went the other direction, went into Pakistan. But a lot of Muslims stayed in India. And that's why we have such a large population of them here in India. Now, since then, there have been other conflicts. In 1992, the Babri Mosque, which was destroyed by the Hindus at Ayodhya, caused a huge amount of conflict. We know that there have been lots of conflicts in Gujarat and certainly in North India here between the Hindus who make up by far the largest amount of people in this country, 800 million versus only 138 to 176 million. That 138 to 176 makes up anywhere from 13 to 20% of all people living in this country. So it's a large minority of Muslims. And what is also known is that much of the conflict and much of the persecution that has happened, the lives that were lost, and certainly the property that has been damaged has by far fallen on the Muslims. 3/4 of all the lives and the property damage have been suffered by Muslims. So they've had the worst of it. We also know that in 2002 in Gujarat, 85% of those who died and property that was destroyed were Muslims. So certainly this conflict has been mostly has come out worst against the Muslims. Now, what about the Muslims that are here? Well, where are they? They're primarily in the north. Most of them right up here, where we are. I'm in a place called Uttaranchal, which used to be part of Uttar Pradesh, the largest state in India. And just in this state of Uttar Pradesh, which is right next to us actually, there are 30 million Muslims. Further out that direction, in West Bengal, there's 20 million Muslims. Just next to Bangladesh, in Bihar, where my parents used to work, there are 14 million Muslims. Those are the three largest Muslim states in India. There are also others in other parts, Maharashtra, Gujarat, also in Kerala in the south. 25% of the population in Kerala are Muslim. But the majority of Muslims are here in the north, because this is where Islam had its really its greatest foundations. This is where Islam really spread from, here in India. Now, when you look at the Muslims here, it was here in India that Islam really birthed itself. I mentioned in the 10th and the 12th and up to the 15th, 16th century, up in the 18th century, the Mughal Empire, the Delhi Sultanate. But also the two most modern groups, the true groups where Islam really defines itself, are the Barelis and the Deobandis. They also were formed and created here in India. The Barelis are the smaller of the two. They are the more Sufi background believers. They believe, they elevate the scholars or holy men they call pirs, who become almost divine, take on divine qualities. The Deobandis don't of course do that. The Deobandis have always stood against the Barelis. Deobandis take their name from a city called Deoband, which just is in that direction. It's not too far from here at all. When we go down to Delhi, we go right through Deoband, where it was originated. And the Deoband movement, or the Deobandis as they call now, spawned other groups such as the Jamaat-e-Islami, created by al-Madudi, and of course the Tablighi Jamaat, the Outreach Society. These are the two large groups which we have in England, in Britain, where I'm living. And they were created right here in India, have moved most of their followers now into Pakistan in that direction. And from there, they have now influenced a lot what's happening in Britain. The Tablighi Jamaat, especially the people who want to build this big mosque there in London called the Olympic Mosque. It's the Deobandis that I have more contact with. It's the Deobandis and the Jamaat-e-Islami and the Tablighi Jamaat, the people that I have more contact with in Britain, who came out of this continent and still have lots of attachment with this continent and get much of their theology, much of their funds from this continent as well, from this country and Pakistan as well. The reason I like them and the reason I work with them is because they're very much like me. They are orthodox. They believe in going back to the scriptures. They believe in going back to their traditions. They believe in going back to the prophet himself. Using his example, I do the same thing. As a Christian, I go back to my scriptures, the New Testament. I go back to my model, Jesus Christ. And I go back to what he said and what he did, his traditions, which help me know how I'm to live today. And for that, there's a reason why I get along probably with the Deobandis better. I enjoy what they're saying, because anytime they speak, they open scripture, or they go back to the Siratul Rasulullah, which is the biography of the Prophet, or they go back to his sayings. So I know what they're going to say. I know where they source it. I know where they're going to go. And because of that, we have a commonality. And we'll be talking more about that, because it's what they're saying and what they're following, the man they're following, the scriptures they're reading, that bother me the most. I enjoy them because I start from the same paradigm. I just don't like what their paradigm is, and I just don't care for what their scriptures say. Now, we'll get into that, we'll unpack it. But before we leave India, we're going to be doing some more videos, and we're going to be going down to the plains next, and we're going to be going down to look at some of the great architecture, especially Mughal architecture, Islamic architecture, that has graced this country, and that has basically been at the forefront of Islamic architecture worldwide. So, from the Himalayas, from the first range of the Himalayas, a place called Masuri, my birthplace, I say goodbye, and we'll pick up again down in the heat of the plains in a few days. This is Jathan, over and out.